So some unsuspecting tree in the early 1600s in the Netherlands has ended up here, and these have been separated for almost 200 years, and now they're coming back together. That's extraordinary.
So we're here to look at a couple of paintings by Frans Hals, one from Chatsworth and one from the Barber Institute. And the working theory is that they were painted as a pair and they belong together, and they've been separated for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting for us because this portrait, which usually hangs at Chatsworth in the great dining room, but she's become over time almost part of this sort of faux pennant hang. So I think what's really fascinating for us is to get an opportunity for her not only to sit next door, who maybe she was meant to, but also to just find out a bit more about the painting's history and a little bit more about her provenance.
They're very important to the exhibition that we're organising on Frans Hals because they're among the earliest known works by the artist, and they will be central to the first room of the exhibition, where we'd like to introduce the artist's earliest work and the mystery there. That's what these do fantastically. The mystery is there, what early Frans Hals, what young Frans Hals actually did, because he's quite old already, compared to most artists when he paints these. And yet these are the earliest known works that we have.
How old would he be?
About 26, 27, maybe even 28. He's still sort of beyond the age that most artists start to make a mark. So we don't know what early Frans Hals did, and yet these portraits are completely, they're fully formed portraits. This is someone who knows what he's doing completely. And in fact, when we look at, for example, her cap, or indeed his ruff, or his cuffs, or the frilly bits, you can see already that he is, Frans Hals already, the one that we know him for in his later work, and especially in the cap, the feathery brushwork is quite amazing.
Well, I was struck by seeing them together that they really work thematically, that this idea that the message that life is temporary and transient, and you obviously get that from the skull, but it wouldn't be as clear with somebody just holding the gold to show off the wealth.
Yes, I mean, it's a perfect example of how separating pendants has its problems.
Yeah.
Because it diminishes their meaning.
I mean, for me, it's always slightly terrifying to see things out of frame, but I'm sure you're very used to that.
I kind of think it's they always feel like they're fresh, like they've just been painted when they're in the easel. And as a conservator, it's really thrilling to work on the two together and bring them into kind of harmony again. Well, particularly as they come from different collections with different conservation histories. We can see it already on the back if I spin them round. I mean, she is a lovely bit of oak. You can see quite clearly the very unusual grain occasioned by it being such a wide board, possibly near a branch at the bottom of the tree.
I love these labels as well, though.
Yeah.
So lovely.
And I think she's had some sort of coating rubbed in the back. We'll be looking into that, maybe a little bit of red lead paint. Whereas he, as you can see, has had a very typical 19th century, early 20th century panel treatment called the cradle, where the panel has been thinned and planed and made smooth. See, this is the original surface with the beveling. And then this structure applied to the reverse in an attempt to keep it flat. It's not something we do now, but that's where we are. I mean, that's just the most obvious sign of a different conservation history in terms of structural work, and I'm sure as we work, we'll find differences in the approach to previous cleanings and restorations as well.
Well, that's the fascinating thing, isn't it? It's the lives of these works, in themselves. She's quietly hung on a wall, probably not being disturbed very often, whereas he's probably had a bit more of an active life, moving around a bit.
It's a hidden history as well that conservators get quite excited about. When we have monographic shows, I know a lot of people think, well, here, this is from the teens, and this is from the 20s, and this is interesting, as style evolved. We also, as conservators, wander around looking at, oh, well, that comes from this collection, and look at that varnish, and that one has had this happen to it, and I can see that, and how they felt about cleaning and retouching the various things. We look at that as well, and it's part of the history of what you see in it. You are looking through the interpretation of a conservator, generally, when you look at an old master painting, and I hope a conservator who is is as discreet as possible, but that's not always the case.
No, and that's the same for us. I mean, across country houses have different levels that they take conservation to, and that runs across everything from sculpture to textiles to paintings, because you want the whole to be seamless.
Yeah,
you know, it's something that grows and lives side by side with each other. So you have to almost keep everything in balance.
Yeah.
So this must be quite interesting, because
Yeah,
you're trying to balance things from very different worlds. But I think what's lovely is just this light coming back into the picture, and the fact that, you know, her skin tone's almost starting to glow just from that already.
It's often with degraded varnishes, it's not just the yellowing. Sometimes the more telling thing is that foggy, you know, net curtain obscuring a hazy loss of saturation in dark tones. And you get that back, as you can see. I started to do some cleaning here.
That's incredible.
It's a huge difference, and all these things are going to be here and here. It's the volume, I think, of the folds and the kind of, you know, the weight and mass, and how she's going to actually stand out from this background.
So say it almost makes her 3D in the sections that you've done. She's really sort of stepping out of a kind of much more sort of 2D kind of nature.
I mean, there's that famous letter from Vincent van Gogh to his brother Theo, where he stood in front of one of the group pieces in the Rijksmuseum and just wrote about Frans Hals' ability to paint black.
Yeah.
And he counted however many different tones he could see.
Yeah.
And I can see that. I can see why that would be just extraordinary.
I mean, that pleating and what you've cleared there, even in the basic way, is incredible. I never noticed it before, and I probably walk past it every day.
You really pretty much can't see it, so I think that would be wonderful.
I can't wait to see it.
You can see, rather than being made up of 2 or 3 planks, they're one plank, and if you look against the light, they've really got, you know, pretty crazy grain, very distinctive, and you can already see, without doing all that research, they look like they come from the same source, and that's pretty fascinating already.
And sorry, can I just absolutely be clear? Are you saying that they might actually be from the same tree?
Yeah, let's look at the report.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not just from a tree at the same period,
No,
but they might actually be from the same tree. That's so exciting. I don't know why that's so exciting.
So we've learned that, as I said, we know the date of the felling of the tree is consistent with when we believe the pictures to be painted. We know they're from the same tree, and in fact, you can see they call it book matched. In other words, from the same block of oak, and you can see a little structural issue with a crack coming down here and one here. So you imagine these 2 boards were one large board like that, split and then unfolded to make the 2 panels.
So some unsuspecting tree in the early 1600s in the Netherlands has ended up here, and these have been separated for almost 200 years, and now they're coming back together. That's extraordinary.
There's a kind of poetry in the idea of wedding pair being from the same tree, but I'm not sure it was intended that way. So should we have a look in UV?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
Just pop these on. And I'll make sure you don't look into the beam, but you can see the old discolored varnishes fluoresce this kind of yellow color, and as I move across you can see the difference, where the varnishes have been largely removed, a little bit left, just taking them down gradually. I mean, that's pretty fantastic to see a white highlight that's actually white.
Yeah.
And these will definitely...
Not nicotine yellow.
Yeah, these will dance and sparkle. Yeah. It's all there, just not as easy to see. Yeah. I mean, thinking as I do about how to bring them together visually now, I also wonder how they came to be apart.
Yeah, I mean, the honest answer is we don't know. But really, from when he died up until the sort of very early 19th century, he wasn't hugely rated, and it was only sort of after, you know, in the sort of early to mid 19th century, that he became, you know, such a cool celeb again, and actually that his works are now some of the most treasured in museum and gallery collections. But after his death, his works were kind of disseminated, often for mere trifles.
In the 20th century, we certainly appreciate, you know, brushwork that has a life of its own, and I wonder if that has something to do with the general interest in him.
But I think also it's that modern taste about story and about personality, and you know, they've got such strong gazes, and they seem so relatable in a way that many other works, you know, by Rubens aren't as sort of personally human relatable in the same way.
Yes, this is going to be one of those great moments with an exhibition that you can show to a larger audience the fruits of all that research and labor that goes into treating these pictures and make them look at their best.
Yeah.
And as close as possible to what they originally looked like.
They're so powerful. It's really nice to kind of unlock what's there.